What's up, guys? It's your boy, the man, the myth, the legend, Pickdroppers, back at it again with a Week 7 pregame video. In this video, I'm going to be going over what I think is going to happen in this upcoming week's games. Now, the first game I have on the list is the Thursday night game, Green Bay versus Chicago. And Aaron Rodgers has not been looking the same. I'll say that. He has not been looking too good. He hasn't even been playing well, even at home. And they just haven't been able to get anything going. And their run game is also not able to get anything going. And they're really not doing good. And in the past, 12 games, Brian Hoyer has actually outplayed Aaron Rodgers statistically. And that's embarrassing because Brian Hoyer isn't good. And it's looking really bad for Green Bay. And I think Green Bay will still get the win, but I don't think they'll be able to go far in the playoffs or even make the playoffs if they don't start winning right now, because Minnesota is right now running away with the division. Now, the next game I have on this list is Washington versus Detroit. Now, this is going to be a very big game to see if Washington is for real. They're going into Detroit. Kirk Cousins has looked really good over the past couple weeks. I'm pretty sure Jordan Reed might be back. Matt Jones just came off an amazing game. And then on the other side of the ball, you have Matthew Stafford and Marvin Jones, who have both been clicking all year. Golden Tate last week had a huge game and might start clicking now. And all Detroit really needs to break the division open and start winning multiple games is to get their run game going, because their defense is looking pretty good. And if they can finally get the run game going, I think they'll be hard to beat. But I do think Washington will be able to get this win and go on a 5-game winning streak. Now, the next game I have on this list is actually played in London. It is the Giants versus the LA Rams. Now, I think that the LA Rams will have an advantage in this week's matchup. I think that Todd Gurley is going to have a great game. And I think mindset-wise, the Giants are pretty hyped, but I do think LA will win. And the reason I think LA will win, I just think they're right now hyped. They really want to get above 500. I think OBJ might not play too well this week, especially since St. Louis's pass defense is really good. And I think that the Giants' O-line will not be able to stop St. Louis's really good D-line. Now, I do think Todd Gurley will finally break open and get 100 or more yards this week. And I think Case Keenum will have a pretty mediocre game. And the one problem that St. Louis has is they don't really have any good wide receivers. They have a couple of mediocre guys like Kenny Britt and Tavon Austin, but they don't have any standout wide receivers. And I think that if they get a standout wide receiver, they'll bring them over the top. Now, the next game I have on this list is Cleveland versus the Bengals. Now, I think the Bengals will win this game, and I think Cleveland will go to 0-7 on the year. And it is not looking good for Cleveland or Cleveland fans, besides in baseball, because baseball they're right now doing really good. But in football, Cleveland fans must be sad. I mean, they are getting nothing going. Last week, Isaiah Crowell had just above 30 yards rushing. That's horrible. And then A.J. Green has just been going off. And Joe Hayden, I think, will be able to slow down A.J. Green, but I think A.J. Green will have another big game. I think Andy Dalton will have another big game. And I think Cincinnati will come to play. Vontaze Burfict will show up and not hurt anybody this week. And I think Vontaze Burfict will get a sack or two, and Cody Kessler won't have any time to throw the ball. I think Dominic Pecco will have a huge game, and I think and Geno Atkins will have a huge game. I think the whole D-line for Cincinnati will have a huge game. They'll be able to stop Cleveland and be able to force Cleveland to throw interceptions. Now, the next game I have on this list is Indianapolis versus the Titans. And this is a very good game. Titans coming in at 3-3. Indianapolis coming in at 2-4. And Indianapolis Colts are going to try to right their ship. They're right now not looking too good. They're down in the division to the Houston Texans. And they haven't been looking too good of late. They've given up the most sacks this year by far. I'm pretty sure it's 4 ahead of anybody else. And they're right now 2 behind Houston in the division. And they really need to get this win. I think T.Y. Hilton will have a huge game because Tennessee's defense has not been playing good of late, except for Brian Orakpo, who has been doing amazing this year, seems to never age. And DeMarco Murray I think we'll have a huge game, and I think Tennessee will get the win. I don't know if that's an upset or what, but Andrew Luck has just not been looking good of late. Hopefully T.Y. Hilton has a huge game, but I don't think they will be able to get the victory. I think it will be a pretty defensive game, and I think Tennessee will win that game. But that's definitely one of the boring games of the week. Now, the next game I have on this list is New Orleans versus Kansas City. Now, I think this is a huge test for Kansas City's defense. Going up against Drew Brees, who has been averaging almost 350 yards passing per game. That's amazing. And he's just been playing great of late. So has Brandon Cooks. And I really want to see the matchup between Brandon Cooks and Marcus Peters. That's definitely going to be a huge matchup. I think New Orleans will be able to get the win. And I think Kansas City won't be able to play too well. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, 35-40 points for both teams. But I think that New Orleans will be able to get the edge. And I think Kansas City's passing won't be doing too well. And I think Travis Kelce might find the end zone once. And I just don't think the wide receivers on Kansas City will do enough to be able to secure the victory. Now, the next game I have on this list is Buffalo versus Miami. Now, this is, again, one of the boring games. Miami has been looking really good of late, just this past week. And Buffalo has been looking really good of late. They're on a 4-game win streak. Everyone except for Tyrod Taylor is doing really good. Tyrod Taylor still averaging only 180 yards per game. That's horrible. But he does bring that running component, which gives defenses a lot of trouble. And LaShawn McCoy has definitely been playing really well. But I do think Buffalo will get the win, and that's because Miami has not been looking good of late, except for that past week. And before that, they lost to Tennessee by like 13 points. The whole team was doing horrible, and I think that Buffalo's defense will be able to stop Jai, and I think Alexander will get another sack. I'm pretty sure he's leading the league in sacks, if not very close second or third, and he's been doing amazing on the year. I think Buffalo will be able to get the win. Now, the next game I have on this list is Baltimore versus Jets, and this is a huge game for not only Baltimore, but for the Steelers. The Steelers really need Baltimore to lose so they can keep holding on to their division lead, because there is a 99.9% chance that the Steelers lose this upcoming week. I don't even care that it's in Pittsburgh. I just want the Steelers to come out of this game unscraped. And bad news came out of Pittsburgh. Big Ben could be out for 4 to 6 weeks. That's horrible for the Steelers. And so I really want the Jets to win. But I do think Baltimore will be able to get the win. And it's because the Jets are last in the league in points per game. They're doing horrible. But the one thing that the Jets do have is Baltimore is 31st in the league in time of possession. And they're not able to control the clock. Joe Flacco hasn't been playing too well of late. Terrence West hasn't been playing too well. And Baltimore's corners are really lacking. Jimmy Smith got injured. He was out with like a concussion or something. And I think Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker will have huge games. And they'll definitely light up the Jets defense, or the Ravens defense. And I do think Baltimore will win because of a couple of players on defense, Terrell Suggs and C.J. Mosley. I think they're going to get a couple sacks, fumbles, maybe an interception, something like that, and they're going to control the game. But I do think that the Jets will have a great game. Now, the next game I have on this list is Minnesota-Philadelphia. If you told me 2 weeks ago that this was the game of the week, I would have believed you. But in the last 2 weeks, Philadelphia has not been playing good. They've lost twice in a row, first to the Lions, and then last week they lost by a touchdown to the Washington Redskins. So it's not looking too good for Philadelphia, and they're right now going against the 5-0 Minnesota Vikings. But I do think Philadelphia will be able to get the win. And the reason I say that is because it is in Philadelphia, and I think Carson Wentz will have a really good game because he hasn't been looking too good of late. And Sam Bradford hasn't been looking too good either, but I do think that Philadelphia will be able to break Minnesota's defense. And I think the bye week for Minnesota really broke their momentum. Now, the next game I have on this list is Pittsburgh-New England. Now, I don't want to talk too much about this game. I do think Pittsburgh will lose. New England just has too many good players, and Pittsburgh doesn't have their starting quarterback. I will talk a little bit more about this on Sunday, but I don't really want to talk about this now, especially since Big Ben's out. But I do think the Patriots will win. Now, the next game I have on this list is Baltimore versus the Jets. And I do think that, or not Baltimore versus the Jets, Oakland versus Jacksonville. And I do think Oakland will be able to get the win. I think their offense is too much. I think Amari Cooper is going to have a great game, and so will Derek Carr. And I think their running backs, even though they haven't been playing too well, I think they'll have a good game. I think Latavius Murray will have a great game. Now, the next game I have on this list is San Diego, Atlanta. No real explanation here, but I do think Atlanta will crush because they have Julio Jones, who will go off, and so will Matt Ryan. And San Diego's defense, they don't have anybody good except for Jason Verrett, who I'm pretty sure is pretty injured. And so I do think Atlanta will be able to get the win. Now, the next game I have on this list is a very boring game, Tampa Bay versus San Francisco. I do think Tampa Bay will win this game. I think San Francisco is one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst. And I do think Tampa Bay's offense is too much. I think Doug Martin, Sims, I think Vincent Jackson, Mike Evans, they're all too much to handle for San Francisco, and I think they will be able to get the win. Now, the next game I have on this list is Seattle, Arizona, and I do think Seattle will be able to get the win. I think their defense is going to step it up, one of the best defenses in the league. Arizona, besides last week, has been looking horrible. I think they'll throw a couple of interceptions to lose the game. Last game I have on this list is Denver-Houston. I do think Denver will get the win, and the reason I say that is because Denver has been looking so good of late, and I think they'll be able to get the win. Their defense will show up. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, write a comment down below on what you would like to see next. It's your boy Pickdroppers, and I'm out. Peace!